having some rum Nicky as part of our Easter supper, though you will have to wait until it's done. I've also made a simnel pudding for Good Friday. It's always nice to have a couple of sweets for these special occasions. We'll have our farm workers and their families round to enjoy the celebration as well. It'll be really nice to see everyone. Have you ever heard of a rum Nicky before? I wouldn't be surprised, it is a bit of a local speciality. It's a pastry tart that's filled with dates and sugar and rum, which is where it gets its name from. And I've actually never made one before, but my auntie told me how to make this and I thought I'd give it a try for Easter. So I'm going to start by making the pastry. It's just a short crust, but with some eggs and some sugar added, just to make it a bit richer. There, so we've got 8 ounces of flour. And to that I'm going to add 4 ounces of butter. I'm going to chop it up into little cubes and then we'll rub it in. We actually make our own butter here on the farm. Quite a lot of farms around here with dairy cows do. Usually it's my job, but my little sister helps as well, especially with the churning, which is the worst job and very hard work. I don't mind though, you know, I quite like making things to eat and being helpful. My ma and pa work really long hours in the fields on the farm, and so do I sometimes as well, but I much prefer being in the kitchen. I like the housework and the cooking, you know. There's something about putting down a bowl of food or a nice steamed pudding in front of other people and seeing them smile and enjoy it. It just makes you feel all warm inside. You know, sometimes I think this is my kitchen rather than my ma's. Annie's kitchen. I like the sound of that, you know. I'd certainly spend more time in it than she does. Right, there we go. That's about the consistency of breadcrumbs now, which is just about right. So, now I'm going to stir in some sugar. I'm only putting in about 1 ounce of sugar because it helps the pastry brown, and if you put in too much sugar it'll brown too fast and burn. And we don't want burnt pastry on our rum Nicky. I'm also going to put in a little pinch of salt. Now, I've got an egg yolk here and I'm just going to add a little bit of water, about 2 tablespoons, and I'm going to whisk those together. The eggs are from our chickens and they have been laying exceptionally large eggs recently, which I don't understand because we've not been giving them anything different in the feed. It's just like there's something on the air or in the water. I don't really know. Anyway, I'm going to put this into my pastry and use it to bind it together. I won't put it all in quite yet, just to make sure that I'm not putting too much liquid in. And I'm using a knife to cut my pastry together. I'm just using my hands to bring the pastry together now. I might use a little bit more water as well because it's still a tiny bit too crumbly. There we go. So I'll just form that into a little patty. And I'm going to pop that in the pantry and it can cool down, ready to be rolled out. So while our pastry is out of the way, I'm going to make our filling for the pie. Now, like I said before, it's made from dates, sugar, rum, ginger and an apple, which is why it's quite dear, because a lot of these ingredients actually come over from America, and that's one of the reasons why it's a bit of a local speciality for us, because they come into the ports at Workington and Whitehaven, and then they come in and they come to I got these at the shop in Appleby. The dates are dried, of course, for the voyage so they don't go off. We've got lovely brown sugar with molasses and spiced rum as well. I did eat a couple of the dates just to taste them because I've never had them before. I bought them especially for this recipe, you see, and they're really nice, like giant sultanas but with a slightly different texture. I might be getting them again though, like I said, they are quite dear, so probably only for special occasions like Easter. So I'm going to weigh out 8 ounces of dates. And I'm just going to chop them up a bit to make them go into our recipe easier. I'm also going to put in an apple. And then I've got a couple of pieces of stem ginger as well. This is really nice stuff and very expensive, so I'm going to try and make sure I use every last bit. Right, now we're going to weigh out our brown sugar. I'm only doing about 2 ounces because the dates and the apple and the ginger are all quite sweet already. There. And now for the star ingredient, our rum. I'm only putting in a splash because we want to be able to taste it, but we also don't want it to be too liquid. And I'm going to stir that up until it all comes together. There. So now that that's done, I'm going to get the pastry, we can roll it out and put our pie together. So, I've got our pastry out of the pantry, it's cooled down nicely, and we're going to roll it out. So, I'll just sprinkle some flour, make sure it doesn't stick. Right, we're just going to cut our pastry in half or thereabouts, so that we've got enough to do both the bottom and the top of the pie. Maybe slightly more than half for the bottom. There. Right, now we can roll it out. My friend Bessie actually gave me this rolling pin. She gave me quite a lot of things for the kitchen because she and her family, they're farm workers, are moving up to Carlisle to find work in the cotton mill there. I mean, we're lucky enough here to have a farm of our own, so we sort of have regular work, but when you're a farm worker and you're going from farm to farm, hiring fair to hiring fair every year, I think it can be quite difficult to get regular work. I think, you know, she and her family hope that they'll find a better life there. I mean, there are new houses being built, which certainly sounds better than a cold, damp cottage in the middle of winter. And there's regular work year round. I know she's not the only person who's left. Right, I'm going to pop this into my buttered dish now. I don't think though that I would want to go to the city. I mean, I know life is meant to be better there, and it is hard sometimes, life here, but I like my life. And I think once you've lived somewhere, you get a sort of connection to it, and I've lived here all my life, so that connection's really strong. I can step outside my back door and I can see the fells and sheep and trees. I don't think I'd like to step outside the door and just see buildings. I mean, you build your identity around where you are and what you're doing in that place. And I think if I left here, I would lose part of my identity. But I don't blame them that do. You know, they're following the work to make ends meet. And I need to follow this work to get this pie in the oven. So, now that we've made our pastry fit our dish, just about, I'm going to put the filling in. I'll spread it out evenly across the bottom. And then I'm going to dot a few little cubes of butter on the top that'll make it really rich and decadent. I'll only do about 2 ounces of butter. We don't need too much. I'll just dot them on like this, and then when the pastry bakes and the pie bakes, they'll sink in and make it all delicious and buttery. So now I'm going to roll out the pastry for the topping. I'm going to do a sort of crisscross shape, and some people say that the Nicky name comes from the fact that it's nicked, like got little gaps in it. Some people say that the cargo on the ships was stolen or nicked, and that's why it's Nicky. I don't really know, and it has been in the area for over 100 years now, so I guess we'll never find out. I'm going to roll this out nice and thin, and then I'm going to start cutting some strips out of it. Right, I'm only going to cut them about ½ an inch wide, and then we'll put them over the top of the pie. We'll see how we get on with that. Right, now our pastries are a little bit rough around the edges, but we'll put these on, then we'll sort it out. So I'm just going to lattice them over the top. Now I'm going to pinch the pastry round the edges to close it all in. I've just beaten an egg, and I'm going to use that to brush the top of the pastry so that it goes nice and golden and shiny in the oven. There we go. That'll be going in the oven now, into the nice hottest part of the oven for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then I'll move it to a slightly cooler part of the oven for maybe ½ an hour. And I'll be back when it's done. Here we go, fresh out of the oven. It smells delicious. The ginger is amazing. I'm so excited to eat this. But we're going to have to wait until our Easter Sunday supper. So it's going to go in the pantry and cool down and get nice and tasty. Anyway, thank you for coming and seeing me. It's been lovely. There you have it. Annie's own Cumberland Rum Nicky.